This thing on?
Yes. Oniric.
Notes to Oniric, Day 1. By Teffer Troy, Doctoral Candidate, Alternative Narrative Traditions, Université de Montréal, October 12, 683.
Oniric.
Hello, Deirdre. I hope you're well. I'm recording this now because today's a big day. I'm meeting with a talking wolf after lunch. I'm a bit nervous about it.
Oniric.
A flame that rides the winds of worlds. A flame that seeks a single torch. The torch burns bright. The torch burns out. The flame remains and rides anew.
Oniric.
It's a dream quest. It's a grail quest. It's a fever dream quest.
Oniric.
Just say hi. Please. Do it.
For fuck's sake. Hi, Deirdre. Hope you're well. You're well rid of this idiot.
Oniric.
Coming fall 2023 in the Podcavern and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam.
I'm Tom.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Laura.
And we are the Pixar Pals, or as you might know us,
The Disney Dummies.
This is the first time we said the Disney Dummies.
that felt strange.
I know.
Is that too official?
Yeah.
Felt a little
I don't know
official,
if we've
but
earned that yet.
maybe it's official because today's an event episode. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sam, what's
Save
today?
Save it. Is it, though? So welcome back, everybody, to Pixar Pals, the podcast where we go through every Pixar animated film in chronological order, starting at Toy Story, working our way up to outer space. No, not really, because we're going to start on Earth, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
We are going to Wall-E.
Put on your Sunday clothes, there's lots of world out there.
Oh, boy.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Let's talk about it right off the top, Sam. Is this an event movie? Yes or no?
Okay. I feel like I don't remember if we talked about this last time.
We did.
Like, is it?
We did. We
We've talked about it every Pixar
Yeah, I
movie.
know. So I don't remember. Okay, well, I don't remember what the consensus was on if this one is.
I do.
I remember.
Do you? Okay, so yeah, I don't remember what we said if it was an event movie or not. But as soon as it started, I was like, "This is an event movie."
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah. Yes.
We did say during The Incredibles that it has to be unanimous. It's only an event movie if it's unanimous. And to me, it's an event movie.
Yeah, I remember at the end of the Incredibles episode that we recorded, we're like, well, if the Incredibles isn't an event movie, is Wall-E an event movie kind of thing? And everyone's like, yeah! So I'm pretty sure.
Brad?
I think when this movie first came out, I don't think it was an event movie. I remember hearing really good things. Everybody loved it. But it wasn't on the scale of like Toy Story 2 or 3. When that stuff came out, everybody was just like rabid to go see it. This one, I feel like had more of a slow burn at the beginning. But yeah, like Sam said, as soon as it started, I'm like, yeah, this movie fucking rules. This is
Correct.
Yeah, it's so I would say now, yes, it's an event movie.
I think it even was for me, it was at the time. I mean, it's one of those ones we often discuss where I'm like, oh yes, like watching it, I was like, yes, I've clearly watched this a bajillion times. Like I knew it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've clearly rewatched it. And also, like, I just remember when it came out of theaters, it was one. And again, I feel like this kind of happens with event movies a lot of the time where you leave and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
which is the only reason I didn't have the fight for, I feel like, Ratatouille as much, whereas like it was good and I really liked it, but I didn't leave that one and I wasn't like mind twisted, whereas this one, and I still feel it where I was like, what the hell? And I know I've had this talk with my friend Spencer, who's also in our industry, where he left it and was just like, this is like what I want to be doing. Like this is like, it's just an inspiring like one as far as the craft goes and stuff. And I feel like it really blew people's minds, which in turn makes it an event movie.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're in agreement for once.
I think it was it was also like it was a weird pitch, right? But anyone who saw this movie was then like, you don't want to see Wall-E, you don't want to see a movie about an anthropomorphic robot garbage contractor that goes to space. You're an idiot. Go see it. Like, what's wrong with you?
What's not to love in this one? Which, like, I don't remember that discourse now that you say it. And I don't know if there's any like stock to this, but when I was researching 5-star, 1-star, which we'll obviously get to later, but there were some people that were like, I know, like, people, it was like hard to convince people to like whatever with this movie. I was like, was it? Like, was that a thing going around where it was like, you're an idiot if you don't want to go see Wall-E?
So dumb.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
What are you
either.
doing?
Yeah. I don't remember that.
I don't think that actually happened.
Yeah? Okay. I guess being a nerd and like going to all the animated movies anyway, I was like, why would this be a hard sell? But maybe if you were trying to pitch it to like non-animation fans or something, maybe it would be like a harder sell. So
well, I think in general, like it was at a time when we were in university, right? So I don't know about you guys. I didn't go to the movies a ton in general. And I also, like most people my age, weren't interested in animated movies. So most people I knew just like were like, I don't really care about your garbage robot. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But we showed them at the end. We didn't. Yeah. We didn't show them.
It makes sense. And I feel like everything we've just been talking about kind of leads us into like our nostalgia and whatever. So like kicking that off, like I definitely did see this in theaters. I agree. I wasn't going to a ton in this time, but I was definitely making time to go see Pixar movies. So I definitely went to this one, and I do remember being like pretty mind blown by it. I may have gone twice. I don't know. Maybe I only saw it once, but I definitely had the DVD, and I definitely revisited this movie a lot. Brad,
I definitely
did
have
you?
the art book behind me for sure.
You have the art book for this one?
I thought I did. I was trying to spy it just now, but
I don't remember seeing it.
Maybe, but yeah, similar thing. I feel like it was I mean, I would have gone seen it either way back then, being in like animation. Of course, we're gonna go see the new Pixar movie. But I do remember it was kind of like a skeptical thing. Cause you're like, really? Like a weird robot? There's like no talking. It was definitely like a hard sell. But yeah, I feel like it's one of those movies where you go in like Puss in Boots. I went in being like, what is this? And then immediately I was like, what the fuck? Like, why is this so good? And I feel like that was basically Wall-E, where you're just like wide-eyed the whole time being like, what is even happening? Yeah, it definitely took on a life once people actually started seeing it and being like, oh, I get it now. I feel like it's a hard movie to advertise and like merchandise in trailers and stuff and really sell what it's about. But yeah.
Yeah, it's about like capitalism and climate change and robots. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And love.
Yeah. Also love.
And love.
Mostly love.
Yeah.
So Laura, your nostalgia then. You did go to see it in theaters?
I think so. Probably. I don't remember the first watch. I just remember the love. I'd give my life for that little robot.
Don't we have the DVD?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have it, right? Okay.
It came in a special box.
It did.
With that little flap.
So you must have liked it enough to buy the DVD.
I think I had that one too. Yeah.
It was a little bit different, just like Wall-E
all
himself.
about the special flap.
Yeah.
That's how
Sounds
you know.
gross.
It's not like the ones under your arms, Tom.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tongue,
Yes.
thoughts, nostalgia,
yes.
special flaps.
Special flaps, many. So, yeah, I have a really interesting nostalgia for this. I could always circle it back to the Superstore days, of course, but we definitely played this at Superstore a lot in the electronics section. We own this movie for sure. My sisters did. But yeah, this came at a strange time in our lives, at least like my life for sure, because I was 18. This came out in 2008. And at 18 in high school, graduating year, what you're trying to do is get with somebody. You're trying to party. You're trying to like do all the alcohol and like, you're trying to like live your best graduation life. At least that's where I was in my life. So like I wasn't
bad style.
Yeah. And I wasn't really, it was a strange time where I wasn't back in my Disney groove yet. Like, of course I like Disney. Of course I like Pixar, but I was like non-interested in like this movie. And when I watched it for the first time, I remember specifically being let down and not liking it. And it was great. I know. I was just like, that was like what I carried for many years because I never gave it another shot. But I knew people loved it. And I'm like, why? I watched it. I didn't like it. But it was me. It was me who was wrong. I was immature. I was too busy trying to find people's special flaps that
You're like, there's no boobies.
Where's the boobies in this robot movie? Anyways, yeah, so I actually, the memory after that is, I think I maybe watched it one more time after that, or maybe not, but the memory is that when we first started Pod Cavern, Sam and I believe Leslie and maybe Matt Barrow did a Pixar, Best Pixar Moments episode very, very early on in the Pod Cavern ranking. I think it was like episode 4 or something like that. And someone brought up one of the Wall-E moments, which we'll go through in the summary. And I was like, Wall-E? Like, I guess, like, I get why you put it, but like, I don't know. And I remember like someone maybe fought pretty hard for it. So like I watched a bunch of the Pixar movies after we did the episode. And then I was like, holy shit, they were right. Wall-E's the fucking, why was I so stupid back in the day? it was, and I was like crying afterwards too. I had feelings again. I felt like a kid. Like I was just, yeah. So my nostalgia was that it started off rocky, but you know, now it's all love for Wall-E. So yeah. And it's been a few years ever since I've watched it, but I've been waiting for it because like it's one of those special ones where you're like, you don't want to play it too much because you want it to like have that like, you know, spark about it. So when watching it 2 nights ago, it was very, very special coming back to the world of Wall-E for sure.
Well, hearing that makes me really glad that you have been tasked with the highest of responsibilities.
The hardest of the responsibilities, the ones we all dread being assigned to every week.
Yeah, because I feel like it's like your homework assignment for not loving Wall-E all those years
my
ago.
punishment.
Now,
you're right.
Now, yes, it is your punishment.
I love it now.
Yeah, and now you could tell us every moment and why in the summary.
I'm looking forward to finding out what that moment was. The Pixar Moments episode.
I forget. I actually do remember what it was. But we'll get into the Wall-E summary right now. I will say before I get started on the summary, it is pretty difficult to write a summary for a movie that has very little talking at the beginning because you have to pretty much write down actions instead for a lot of what's happening. So, and this movie is an hour and 40 minutes, I think, just under. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. So as I'm like trying to appreciate the majesty that is Wall-E, I'm missing things and I'm like, my notes start getting worse and I didn't want it to like detract from me, you know, liking the movie. That's always the struggle with summary, obviously, right? Yeah. But here we go. If I missed anything, I'm sure this group will tell me. They always
Us?
No. So Wall-E is taking place, I'd have to look this up. It's in the 22nd century. So
how'd you know that?
I Googled it.
It's the year 2805.
There you go.
Oh,
well,
so the 29th century.
29th century. That's weird.
That's what I found anyway.
Oh, well, Google might be telling me wrong. Do they say in the movie what century it is or what year it is?
This was in a DVD extra. This is leapfrogging to my...
to your Diginos? Okay.
Diginos, yeah.
Anyways,
DVD
we're in
extras.
a year or a period of time on Earth where we are in like basically a post-apocalyptic future where there is no life on Earth and it's looking pretty bad. But before we get to that part specifically, we open in space. We see space and it looks beautiful. We have like a musical number about Barnaby that's going on in the background.
Hang on. Barnaby.
Okay.
Not Barnaby.
Sorry.
Is this the
Barnaby.
Barnaby. There's a slick town, Barnaby.
I don't remember.
But it opens on the way out there in Yonkers, Barnaby.
Okay, sure.
Like the really
I believe you. I don't know how it goes.
And then it gets into
I
the
wrote
dancing.
down Barnaby and I had to just make up how it sounded, remembering it.
Laura, is this a musical?
Yes, it is. It's called Hello, Dolly. I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Okay.
So after we see space and we hear Barnaby, or that's even the name of the song, we zoom into the post-apocalyptic Earth that I was talking about, and we immediately meet Wally, or who I like to call Wall.
Hang on a second, though.
Yeah.
Does Wally fuck?
I think so. I honestly think so. I know like a lot of our main characters throughout a bunch of movies don't fuck. And I know like Wally has a little bit more of like this timid energy to him that makes him so adorable and very likable to watch. But the guy is brave as fuck. He fights for what he believes in and he saves the day and he sticks to his guns. That's fuck energy to me. So Wally fucks.
I would agree. I would agree that Wally fucks.
No?
I don't think so, but I'll talk about it later.
Brad, where are we at with Wally fucks?
I'll allow it.
Okay, great. Sounds like someone who's led into the club reluctantly.
I mean, I can't.
I guess you can go to the VIP room. But we meet Wally, who we immediately know, like, his directive, his function is to kind of pick up trash into his belly and crush it into a cube. And then we kind of like see visually that he's been stacking these like garbage cubes into buildings, like tall ass structures and buildings, while listening to music. And he has his cockroach buddy, who also fucks, by the way. I would say he fucks. Yes. I'm gonna just keep saying.
Yeah, cockroach fucks.
But then as this is happening, I think, what other movie did this recently? I think it was like Ratatouille, where there's like a little bit of a tonal shift right before they show the title card, where there's like this ominous music that's playing, and then it just goes Wall-E, and you're like, whoa, what is this movie? And then we go right back into it. And now we see this real live action footage. I think the first time in Pixar, and maybe, I don't even know a time after that they do this, but we actually see a living human person in an animated movie in this commercial that's like pitching Axiom. The Axiom commercial essentially is a giant Star Trek ship.
Oh yeah, because he's live action.
Yeah, giant Star Trek-like ship, which is like the Utopia vacation cruise ship that is like, come on this thing and you can have basically unlimited vacation thingies that you'd want on a ship.
For 5 years.
For 5 years, yeah.
But also
And it's Fred Willard.
Fred Willard, thank you. That's
a
what
joy to watch.
Good man,
Exactly.
good
He's
man.
very fun to watch. Only live action character in this whole movie. What'd you guys think about having a live action person in an animated movie? Did it throw you off a bit? Or?
Not even a little bit. I didn't even think about the fact that it was live action until this moment.
It threw me off when I first saw it. I remember being like weirded out that they put live action in the movie, but now watching it, it makes sense that they do it live action because it like cements it as more realistic in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess
still a little bit odd, but it makes sense.
Well, I guess the only thing that's odd is like later in the movie, you do see humans and they don't look like Fred Willard, right?
And I'll have thoughts on them later.
Okay.
So
All right.
more
Okay.
so than I have thoughts about Fred Willard.
Okay, we'll keep going. Wally puts himself to bed after looking into space. He's like looking into the sky, being like, what else is out there? This is all inferred stuff that's going on. Again, this movie is very show not tell kind of thing. Like, it's just giving you all this stuff that you're just reading off of their like animation style and like just like how Wally moves his eyes and stuff. You get a lot from his just emotion just looking at him.
And he's playing that music where he like hits the button as he's looking out to the space.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And also he does a really cute thing when he puts himself to bed with his cockroach pal and he turns himself into a cube and he like swings that little bench as they're sleeping and
Rocks
is like
himself to sleep.
Wally is so fucking cute.
Yeah.
He's like, it's insane how much emotive energy they get out of like this robot without dialogue.
Exactly.
Really like a
Animators, man.
masterclass on animation.
Curious if there's a, did you know on like how many words were actually written for this movie? Maybe we can look that up later. Anyway, so we see another day in Wally's life, which is essentially he does the same thing every day. He wakes up, he hangs out with his pal all day and crush cubes and looks for things from the old world. Like, so we see him playing with a bra. We see him playing with one of those like ping pong paddles that have a ball and like a little string on it, playing with a fire extinguisher. He builds another like big building full of cubes, that kind of stuff. And then
foreshadowing with the fire extinguisher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he discovers something that he's never seen before, which is this tiny little plant. It's a very little cute little plant thing, which is obviously a big deal in the post-apocalyptic world, which is pretty Mad Maxian too, which is just desert and sand and very tan everywhere.
Yeah.
And so as he picks up the plant and goes home, he sees a bright light, kind of like how a cat chases a laser pointer. He kind of like chases after this light and circles around, and then more lights appear, and he's like, whoa, what the hell is this? And he sees like this big poof of like smoke cloud, and it's because a ship just landed. And when this is happening, Wally's so cute, he's like digging himself a little hole and shit, and he does it again
Pretty
later.
scary.
It's scary, but
He's
it's
a
like
scared little guy.
I'm like, I love how he problem solves his way through it. He's like,
Yeah.
he knows how to like take care of himself when it comes down
Is
to
that
it.
when they like the camera is like underground and he's like digging into
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like really like pipes up the like intensity.
It is.
of
It's
that
a
moment.
giant ass
Yeah.
ship that's landing. He has no idea what's happening.
I also like that they show Wally like collecting all the things to show that he's like not just a garbage collecting robot anymore. He's like curious about things. He's got a personality. He's not just following his prime directive. It's just like he's not
got nothing else to do.
sentient now.
Yeah. An arm comes down from that ship and brings down a pod, a sexy little pod. Maybe it's not, is it sexy? I don't know. Yeah, definitely. Wee-oo. It's Eve.
Eve.
But I will be honest, it's been so long since I've watched it. I really thought her name was Eva.
Eva, yeah.
But,
Okay, so here's my thing with Wally not fucking is that I just think that Eva fucks so hard.
Oh, yeah.
That by comparison, Wally just doesn't.
But
That's
Wally
where I'm
gets
at.
Eva.
Yeah, he does. He
Yeah,
like
but-
punches
Yeah.
way above his own like belt, you know? That's impressive shit.
But Bruno got Bianca. That doesn't mean that he fucked. Like,
I think they both do. But yeah.
was
like,
it Bruno?
Bruno?
Is that his name? The mouse?
From
You know the one.
Bianca? Who are you talking about?
The maze.
Oh, no,
oh,
his name is
from,
not Bruno.
What's his
Oh
name?
God, Rescuers Down Under.
Oh.
From Rescuers. in
Bernard.
general.
Thank you.
Bernard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone.
No, Wally still fucks, but you're right. Eve immediately does. So the ship takes off, and then Wally digs himself a hole again. It's really cute. Eve starts flying around. Might just keep calling her Eva
Eva.
because that's how
That's
I
how to
know.
pronounce it.
Yeah, Eva starts flying around super quick, and Wally is into it. He's like, "Wow, this is amazing!" And you know, he thinks it's like the coolest thing ever. And he's like following her around, and like Eva like shoots a giant, like she has like a giant arm cannon that she uses multiple times. I guess it's not giant, but it's fucking powerful. So she'll just transform her hand into like this thing that'll just disintegrate shit. And like she almost kills Wally. It's a little kind of cute moment because Wally doesn't die, but
Is it a meet cute? Is it their meet?
a little bit of a mute
Yeah.
cute. Yeah, for sure. He keeps following her around, and she's like scanning the vicinity and all the stuff. And then the cockroach wants to become Eva's pal, and she's like trying to. This is a really fun joke. They do it a few times where the cockroach just won't die. So like she shoots the cockroach, I think once or twice, and he just like lives.
Yeah.
And doesn't Wally
Wally
like
runs
freak
it
out the
over?
first time she does it? He's like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Later in the movie, like the cockroach gets like literally run over, and he's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's
So
They'll outlive
I-
us all.
I would argue the cockroach wasn't trying to be Eve's friend. The cockroach was being like a crazy wingman for Wally. Like he saw that Wally was into Eve, and the cockroach went to Eve and like did shit so that Wally would come out, and then they hold out hands and the cockroach jumps to Wally. And I was just like, man, cockroach bro, what a wingman.
Maybe you wanted to do a little bit of both. Maybe a
we
little
already
bit of both.
established that the
Cockroach fucks. Oh,
Man,
100%.
that
Yeah.
cockroach is the best wingman in that entire world.
It's the only time I've ever liked cockroaches. So after like that meet cute thing and like Eva trying to kill Wally, like she sees him and she's like puts out her gun again, but she scans him and then she realizes
Directive.
he's not a threat. And then he just keeps following her around, which now we enter like a very cute montage of like Wally following Eva to La Vie en Rose, like that song. And like there's like the scene where like there's a bunch of shopping carts behind him.
Such a good
and then
scene.
like all the shopping carts like fall down a hill and like smash him
I
into
also
like a
love
wall.
the camera work on that scene
Yes,
too, where
yes.
it's like watching him like documentary style or something. It's really cute.
I love the timing in that gag as well, because it's like he gets to the door, hits the door, then all the shopping carts hit him and pile up. then there's like a pause, then the doors open. I'm just like, that is such a good little gag.
It's good. They do a lot of like even like the next part where like part of the montage, like he's doing more cute stuff, looking at Eva, and then a bunch of pipes fall on him, and it's just like it's poor Wally just wants to say hi to this girl, this mystery girl.
Runs around.
Eva continues trying to scan stuff, but she can't find what she's looking for. Like now she's in like a shipwreck yard kind of thing, and she blasts a whole ship and all this other stuff. And then this is when Wally and her start to become friends, and they like exchange directives with one another. Directive, and he shows her, and she's like, hers is classified, but then they introduce each other's names, and as it's happening, Wally, Eve, Eva. And it's like the way he says it, it's just he's like so awestruck by like
also the number of syllables he puts in Wally. It's like Wally.
I know. Whoever did the sound design in this movie is that's awesome stuff. A big sandstorm's about to approach, and Wally Smooth, he brings her back to his place. And we already kind of saw this earlier. I didn't mention it, but we kind of start seeing all the other stuff in Wally's like crib, let's call it. I'll say his apartment, whatever, his like little room, little thing that he has.
Little robot
man cave where he has like an egg beater. He shows her like a Rubik's Cube, his favorite like cassette, which plays a movie with that song that Laura was talking about earlier. And
the light bulb.
The light bulb thing. Yeah, he gives Eva a light bulb and it turns on. He's like, wait, what? It doesn't turn on for me? And it's really cute. I think a really amazing little thing that I love is like Wally grabs like the top of like a garbage lid and does the
my
little
favorite moment of the film.
I don't know what it is. He just like does a little top hat thing.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
He does choreography is what he does.
Yeah, that's it. He dances for her. He tries to get her to dance. Eva's quite destructive, and so much that Wally's eye like comes off. And, and he has to replace his eye. It's a little bit of a thing. So he finds his like a spare eyepiece and he puts it on. No big deal for Wally. It happens all the time.
You get like the good little sequence where he puts back in. So like,
yeah, the little thing
like
that he
coming
does
back into focus. So good.
Yeah, exactly. It goes up and down on both sides. It's very cute. Yeah. They light a fire with a little Zippo lighter, and Wally's in love and tries to hold her hand. That's a big thing in this entire movie.
Yeah.
We see a lot of stuff like in that movie that they are playing in the cassette is that people are holding hands. And every now and then after he looks at that, he's like, well, I want to do that. So he like takes his hands, he holds his own hands, and then he'll look at Eva's. So like throughout the movie, he's just trying to hold her hand. A very admirable thing.
Can I
So
throw
wholesome.
in? Oh, yeah. Can I throw in a fun fact here? Because I think it's more relevant now than during Indigenous. Is that the scene of them holding hands in the movie Hello Dolly? It's not real. They faked that scene.
Wow.
They made it up for the purposes of Wally. I know, but it's so great.
You're stealing a good one.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Brad.
It's okay. Apparently they cut in close. It was in the movie, but like that close up of a shot didn't exist. So they had permission to cut in closer to like really get the hand holding close up. Yeah.
Well done.
Cool. Well, thank you for the digital, Brad.
I'll scratch that one off, I guess.
Stolen.
Laura's bench this week. She wants.
I'm just so excited about Hello Dolly.
So he shows her the plant next, and she scans it, and she puts it inside her body, and then immediately she like locks up. Her hands disappear. She becomes just like this stationary pod with a green flashing plant symbol on her, front of her robot body. And now Wally's like, oh, what? Things were just getting good. I don't know what to do, so I still want to hang out with you. So we see another montage where he's just hanging out with Eve, and they're like hanging out on a hot sunny day. He'll hold an umbrella for her when it's raining and thundering and lightning outside, and he will get struck by lightning and he'll just hold up another umbrella. Extremely cute shit again.
It's cute because like you've seen Wally we skipped over his morning routine where he's like so tired because his energy cell is so low.
Yes.
And he's like trying to get his treads off of the wall, and
it's very drunk Baymax kind of thing.
You just need
low
some
battery
solar
Baymax.
energy. Yeah.
So they like establish that he needs solar energy, and so he takes Eva to the top and like positions her to the sun to try to like recharge her because he thinks she's low on energy.
Yeah,
she's an advanced robot. He brings her on a boat ride. He puts Christmas lights on her. He continuously tries to hold her hand by like forcing her hand out, and then like crushes his hand, but she won't wake up. And now Wally's depressed and he goes back to work and he's like, I guess that was just a short-lived flame, I suppose. And then out of nowhere, the ship comes back and tries to take Eva back. And then she's immediately put on the ship. And Wally's like, I gotta get over there. He like guns it. He books it over, tells the cockroach pal to stay. And he goes into space. And now Wally is a space boy on the ship. And
Space boy.
This is like a really, I think, visually, there's a bunch of different parts in Wally that I feel like you see in like Pixar montages. This is like one of them where Wally's like touching the stars with his like little like hand. And I think that's just like beautiful imagery. I don't know. There's something very hopeful and magical and wondrous about the entire sequence because he's doing the solar energy recharging because he's near the sun and it's like
beep beep boom.
Yeah,
it's
he's
done immediately.
like charged up, and it's just really good stuff. Wally's just having the time of his life in space because he's been on Earth this entire time alone.
Plenty of space out in space.
That's it. And now the spaceship finally leads Wally to the Axiom. Again, that's that giant Star Trek-like ship that's vacation in space. And Eve gets unloaded from the ship and gets cleaned by Mao. This tiny cleaning robot.
Yeah, Mo definitely fucked.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted someone else to ring it for once, but I guess I did.
Yeah. No, Mo fucks.
For sure. Mao. For a cleaning robot, he has very tiny brushes. Like I feel like a cleaning robot should be wider so it can cover more surface area.
It's got to get into those little crevices.
Yeah.
Though.
So the cleaning robot's job, Mo, is just to clean shit. So the ship that drops off Eve, she's getting clean, Wally's getting clean. And then like other robots around Mo come in and scan her, and Wally's chasing her. And Wally's leaving like a bunch of dirt. He's just a dirty robot, obviously. So dirt's all over the place. And
Contaminant.
That's it. Yeah. And Mo, who like a lot of the robots here are like on a track, like a pre-programmed track. That's all they can do. Mo, I guess, is one of the first robots on this entire thing. He wants to clean whatever Wally's got going off. So he jumps off his track and does his own thing. So he's going to be cleaning Wally's shit for a while in this movie before he comes back. Now we see Wally trying to chase after Eve, and we see like this very fast indoor highway of robots, and this is where we start seeing people, and we find out that these people are extremely overweight, that are in floating chairs. They get transported wherever they want. They always have a screen in front of them. They're never really looking at anybody else
beyond
person. Beyond the screen, even if they're right beside each other. So it's already telling what kind of ship this kind of is, like what the world on the ship is like.
I feel like this is my time to just like touch on it real quick, and I'm not going to be a drag about this.
It's a hot take?
No, I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going with this. And I tried to read up more on it so that I could like be a little more informed in how I communicate this, but I really couldn't find much about it. Like searching it, I just know that I read it in places and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But I have read that one criticism of this movie is just this like fat phobic kind of use of overweight people as like shorthand for being lazy and, not, they didn't need to be obese. They didn't all need to be obese. They use that to give this idea. They were like, this is an easy way to tell you all that they're lazy and that they're not moving and they're not doing stuff. And it's like, I think this movie would have been just as strong, and we still would have understood, like you could still depict laziness without making them all overweight. And I don't think it was really necessary. And I never had thought about it until it had been pointed out. And so, like I said, I tried to like read a little more. So I don't know, but I would agree that it seems, just not necessary.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. I'll just jump in real quick because coming back to this movie, I'm like, oh yeah, this part, and then I was like, I wonder how they handle it. Will it age as well, kind of thing? Because we've seen in already a couple of Pixar movies where some things don't age as well. I would say this was a choice which didn't bother me too much, even on this watch through, because I felt as though they, at least in my perspective, they weren't making fun of fat people per se, but it was more this idea of this utopian ship that basically you getting whatever you want. They were pitching like these like ice like what was it? Like ice cream desserts, like these mega
everything in a cup,
super size me type of meals that they can just consume and stuff. And that's why they're all big, is because you, in a world where you're kind of getting everything you want, of course, everyone's going to look like this, right? That's where I came from. Yeah.
Which they wouldn't, though, is my counter.
You don't think so?
No,
like, in a world
I
where,
think
like,
if I was, bodies aren't there. There's no like straight line like that. If I were to eat and become a lazy blob, like I wouldn't. It's just not. That's not an accurate depiction of what everyone would look like in those same circumstances. So to make everyone uniformly the same size and the same
look,
shape, it just doesn't really hold up. And again, it's like, yeah, sure, that's what they were telling, but like I said, it's just kind of cheap storytelling. Like it is a device to be like, they're lazy. That is what they're using. That is why they're designed that way, is so that we know really quickly, just by looking at the shot, that they're lazy, and that is what is ingrained in us. So I was trying to find something, again, written by like a more plus size person and their take on it, because I feel like often when we talk about fat phobia in culture, it's often like smaller people being like, well, we're not poking fun, we don't mean it that way. And I think a lot is overlooked. I think with The Whale coming out this year and stuff, like these debates have been coming up, and it's like you got to kind of step back, and even if you are good intentioned, it's like sometimes those good intentions don't really work. And I think this is one of those instances, and I don't know that they would do it the same. So it's like not a
Probably
not like whatever. It's
no.
something to like talk about during the movie. I am not like holding it against, but I'm like, okay, yeah, that was not cool, but it was also 2008, and I don't think we're still not ready to talk about fat phobia in the way we should be. So I don't hold it as a knock against the movie, but I'm like, it's worth talking about.
Absolutely. Laura, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I think I don't think I can say it better than Sam. I think your point about intent, Tongue, is one that we always want to consider, but I think like in this instance, it's not as important as the impact. And like Sam said, it was really a shorthand. So Tongue, you were talking about, drinking too much and not getting exercise and that kind of thing. What we're seeing is that like these, quote unquote fat people in the movie, it's indicating that anyone who looks like them is eating too much, isn't getting exercise, that kind of thing. So it's more so like the unintended effect that I think we need to consider in the long run.
Yeah.
But I also think like, if we're talking about laziness, like to me, it's a little bit lazy on the part of the creators too, because if I think about the point they were trying to make is maybe more so that like with time, if you're stationary in these chairs, you're going to like lose bone strength, bone density, your skeleton might shrink, whatever that looks like. And they could have done such a creative thing with that in terms of how they made the bodies look and move. And to me, that's just a little bit of a missed opportunity. I think it's not something that we really want to overshadow the film, but I'm glad you brought it up, Sam, because I think it's important to be critical of these movies as we talk about them.
I don't think it's the chairs. I think it's the space, right? They were saying that space makes their bone density different. But you're right. They could definitely look different. They
do try to kind of explain it away, but at the end of the day, it's like, they could have all these deep meanings, but at the end of the day, it's still just like a bunch of fat people that they're portraying. I do have some like did you knows or particulars that kind of feed into why I think they kind of went that route, but I mean, it doesn't really help. Again, at the end of the day, they're all really fat. They didn't have to be all fat, even with the did you know that I have. So no, it's a good point. And they do try to explain it, but we're being like, they're not moving, they're not exercising, their bone density goes down, they become like gelatinous, like blah, blah, and it's like going in that direction. But people still just see shorthand, fat people, lazy.
I didn't want to brush it aside, that's for sure. I'm glad you brought it up. It's a complicated thing now, but back then it wasn't, I guess.
I also don't think it adds that much to the story. Like I think like Laura said, like you could have done different cartoony, it's a cartoon, like different things if you wanted to be like, oh, their bones are weaker and like whatever. Like you could have shown that in other ways. And I think because their role, it's just, I don't think it would have affected the story in a bad way if we just kind of like made them more of a diverse crowd, really. Like the robots are off doing their plant thing. Like we kind of come back to them like, oh yeah, we should want to like move, like all the drives of the humans aren't like, we need to get in better shape. The drives are like, we need to go back to Earth and we need to do this and that. So I don't think it would have even like made a difference really if it was designed differently.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd be curious. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, we have John Ratzenberg, who makes an appearance. Ratzenberger? John Ratzenberger, who falls off a chair and he can't get up because he's too big. And Wally helps. Now we're going back to Sam's point. And Wally helps him up back onto the chair.
You know what though? Wee-oo. I think John Ratzenberg's character fucks. He's like really trying to like help out with everything.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. There's a few human characters that definitely.
And the other lady.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll meet her in a bit. But yeah, the world is a utopia. You can change your outfit instantly. It's basically, you know what would be cool? The color blue today.
Hang on a second. You're not changing your outfit. You're changing the color of your outfit.
You're right. Yes.
Okay, this isn't like Barbie's dream closet. This is like Microsoft Paint. It's the fill
tool.
Careful.
It's the fill tool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
You get instant food and gratification. You're always plugged in and looking at screens like we're talking about. The idea of this utopia of a never-ending, all-inclusive resort is how I see it.
Everything in a cup.
Yeah. It's like an overindulgence and an exercise in that. But you cannot leave this ship because you're in space. So you're only ever going to do these things. And Wally meets this lady that also fucks, who ends up in John Ratzenberger. They do a thing later, but he unplugs one lady from the screen. And it's like the first time she sees anything. It's a really interesting thing where I think this is what makes this movie kind of relevant today in a world where people are glued to their devices, glued to their screens, and not really experiencing the world around them.
They're not living,
which is, I think there's something to Wally that's very relevant to today. And like, for example, this whole ship is full of pools. Like you can swim if you wanted to, but nobody's doing that because they're too tapped in and plugged into the other things and the distractions of the world that they're not spending that time to make that inhuman connection and interacting with those types of things, right?
And I just want to point out, so this movie came out was it 2008?
Yeah.
And the iPhone came out in 2007. So the idea for this, I'm sure this film was well in development before that was released. And they're basically all just staring at iPads throughout it. It was pretty forward thinking.
I know. Yeah, it's very interesting. But anyway, she didn't know she had a pool, and she tells. I actually don't even know if she tells Wally where to go. But next thing we see is Wally takes an elevator up with Eve, where we meet the scary wheel. But we don't know he's scary yet. But he kind of is scary right off the top. It's Otto, the autopilot.
Oh, the autopilot.
Autopilot.
Yes.
Wee Wee, who's
for better or for worse.
Slip that one in there, right?
I mean, he's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
He's pretty fucking cool. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. Who scans Eve, and they end up in the captain's quarters, where we get to see what the captain's responsibilities are. Which, I feel like I'm the only one running with this segment today, but I will say, wee you to the captain.
My goodness.
The captain for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Does, yeah.
The captain fucks.
What a hero.
He's like, anyways.
Yeah.
Define C. Define dancing. We'll see that later.
Yeah, I love that part.
I love that he goes all the way to Hoedown when you come back later. It's how did he get from Earth to Hoedown?
You know that the writers figured that out, though, right? That's my favorite thing. But I think the thing about the captain is that he couldn't fuck until he was required to, and then he discovered that he could. We all discovered that he could.
Sometimes you need that moment where your fuckable energy is unlocked.
It only takes a moment. That's in the opening song. I didn't get all the notes right.
Okay. So we see his responsibilities, which is kind of saying the same shit every single day. He slept in. He controls the weather and time of day. And we figure out that they've been there for 700 years. Not him specifically, but everyone else on the ship have been there for 700 years. Which I think is a really cool way to describe I really like when he's using the ship and it's just oh, you know what? It was in the afternoon, or maybe it's coming towards the evening. Nope, it's back to morning. And so you can say his morning announcements. And it's always...
People need routine.
Yes, but it's always sunny on the ship. There is never any rain. So it's always the same. It sounds actually kind of awful.
Yeah. It's a dystopia for sure.
Yeah. And he discovers that one of his Eve probes comes back positive. Being positive is a good thing. The video that plays when that happens says, we see Fred Willard again. He's just yeah, you can come back to Earth. You should do that. That means that the Earth, it can grow shit again.
It's hospitable.
Yeah, exactly. And so now Eve is aware again, and she's up and running, and then finds Wally, and Wally just wants to hold her hand. hand. And she starts freaking out, but he has love in his eyes. So she's like screaming at him, and he's just like, I missed you. Yeah. And now we've discovered that the plant inside Eve is gone. It's just not there. She like opens it up and they're like, she's defective. Put her into the repair ward and get this other robot, Wally, get him clean because he's just filthy. He's a dirty boy.
Contaminant.
Yeah.
And she blames Wally. She thinks Wally took
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
That's gotta hurt.
Wally gets a bit of dirt on the captain, which is interesting because this is like the genesis of the captain fucking. Because it's just like,
Started with dirt.
He's like, dirt? Oh man, you're dirty. Wait a second. And he puts the dirt in like this, like, it's like he's never seen dirt before, which is very interesting.
Well, he hasn't.
Exactly. So because the ship is too perfect. There's no dirt anywhere apparently. So, which is, I just thought like this whole utopia that they built, there's 0 plants on the ship. So yeah, that's just doesn't sound like every vacation that I've been to, like something on a beach or something like that, you usually see like a tropical tree or something like that.
Have you ever been on a cruise?
No, I don't want to. That sounds awful.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyways, he puts like the dirt in this like hovering kind of hologram like beam, and it's like, define, like, what is this thing? Tell me about the earth. Tell me about the sea. And the captain is now learning stuff off screen. Wally gets out in a block of like, now he's basically in robot jail, but not really jail. It's like where they're all getting fixed. So we kind of see like the ward of like defective
the repair
robots.
ward.
Exactly. So as Eve is getting fixed and Wally's like put in this like little block and sees all his like other robots who are also defective, he's like trying to scan for Eve, and in his vision it looks like Eve's getting hurt, even though she's like having the best time being repaired.
From my point of view, you're getting hurt.
Yeah. So Wally tries to come into the rescue, steals her arm cannon, trying to be like kind of cool, save the day, and he fires the beam backwards and it lets all the robots free. And now it's kind of a little of a shit show where like all the robots are running around and they celebrate Wally as like their like leader kind of thing. But the other security robots think that Wally and Eve are a threat now, because like Eve's associated with Wally. So they're wanted robots.
Criminals.
On the ship. Exactly. And Eve's like, I'm tired of this Wally guy. Like, like we had an okay time. Like I kind of know this guy, but I'm over him. He's fucked up all my plans. He stole the plant. I don't want him. So she plans to send him in a pod back to Earth. And again, we have another scene where as this is happening, Wally's just staring at Eve's hand. So one of the robots comes in with the plant. So like as she's about to send Wally, they hear like a robot come behind them, and they just hide for a bit. And now we see the plant in a boot, and this other robot is trying to send the boot back to Earth. So that's getting a little sus there. Yeah, Wally and the plant are in the pod, but Eve's back on the ship, and the pod launches away. And actually, you think it's an escape pod, but it's about to self-destruct. So it's going. Wally's like, oh my God, what do I do? And he grabs
I think that's because Wally slams on a button while he's trying to stop it. I don't think it's like
you don't think
specifically a self-destruct.
I thought it was
pod.
I thought the other robot programmed it to self-destruct.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. So
I also love the moment when Wally first gets in there and he thinks Eve's gonna go with him.
Oh yeah.
And he like hops onto the chair and pats the seat next to him, and he's like sitting
is pretty
super
cozy.
cute.
Swinging his little legs.
Yeah, he's like, ooh, that's
or something. Yeah.
very cute ship. And yeah, the pod explodes. It self-destructs, but not before he grabs a fire extinguisher. So Wally has the plant. He survived the explosion. He gives Eve the plant, and this is like giving a flower to a girl, like it's like a great move. Just like there could not be a better thing that he could do for her than retrieve the plant for her. And they have this little like spark, like there's a spark between them, literally. It's like a little kiss, I imagine a little peck, robot peck. And he is so ecstatic. And this is the scene that I think that was in the Pixar Moments episode where Wally and Eve fly through space together, where Wally's using fire extinguisher. And honestly,
nice.
I think it is like probably the most visually memorable part of the movie. That is just beautiful.
The music and the visuals.
Everything's working for this. Like it's so cool. Like he's just having the best time flying with his new kind of like not yet girlfriend, and they're just having like a little date in space.
They're not a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful. I don't think it's like the standout when I think of this movie, but I'm just such a big, I mean, I'll get to it later, but I'm such a big fan of the first like 35 minutes that there's just stuff in there that is more for me. But I do really love this scene. Like, obviously, it's very beautiful, spacey.
It tells
magic.
Yeah, it says so much about the
magical.
film. I think it just kind of encapsulates the majesty of this film.
What they can do and the scale. I think space is cool, and we like space because of the scale of how large and vast and like whatever it is, and they capture that like perfectly with this. It's like, I believe we're in space. Like, this feels exactly like that.
I also love at the beginning of just before they do that, when they're trying to like, Wally's got the extinguisher and he like blasts by Eve and they like pass each other, and then they go back and they pass each other again, and then he's like trying to get used to it. He's like spinning around and they're like it's all very
good.
cute.
And he uses the entire fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
So he makes a good date out of it.
And then Eve carries him in.
I know. That's so cute. And even John and the other girl, who I don't think they name, John Ratzenberger's character, the other girl who gets unplugged, they're the only two who are not on screens anymore. And they're like, hey, it's Wally. Look at that guy. I know him. We know him. Yeah, hey, Wally.
That's a cute moment.
Yeah. And then we cut back to the captain, who's like, define dancing. Define Mary?
No, Mary's
her name's
name,
Mary.
yeah.
Okay. So we get another thing where the captain's continuously learning about what life on Earth is like. Now Wally thinks he's like, yeah, I'm top shit. Like, now Eve wants to hold my hand, so he's about to do it. And then Eve's like, wait a second, we got to get this plant back to the captain. And the captain is now obsessed with going back to Earth. Eve comes in, delivers the plant, while Wally stays down where like all these towels are and all this other stuff. And as the my notes are getting pretty bad here, but as Eve gives the plant to the captain is like scans her memory of like what it's like on Earth right now. And he's like, well, that doesn't look like Earth. That's interesting. But he still wants to go. And now we get to see another cute moment, which is we're seeing the memories that Eve didn't really experience, which is like
a security camera.
All the time that Wally was just hanging out with her, taking care of her, and just being around her.
It's so sweet.
As she had the plant inside of him. And it's really, really sweet. Yeah. So as that's happening, she's like, oh, wait a second. I want to hold his hand now.
Directive.
Yeah, directive. So Captain wants to go back to Earth and bring the plant with him. And Otto, the steering wheel, wants to take the plant. And he's like, I can't tell you why you can't bring this plant. I need to take the plant. You got to trust me, Captain. The captain's like, I'm the captain. You got to tell me. So Otto plays another video with Fred Willard, which basically explains that the Earth is fucked and that
Don't do it. Don't go back.
On the Axiom just keep flying.
Yeah.
Like, just keep going.
Swim away.
Which I'm like, how do they have enough? Well, I guess there's future technology, unlimited food and water and fuel, I guess, right?
Everything in a cup.
But Captain, after learning this, he's like, no, I still want to go back to Earth. And Otto denies him, and it's revealed that he is the true villain of this movie, which is, I think, is a good twist. We see it like around this time in the movie where you see pictures of all the other captains, which they've already shown a little bit before, but you see that Otto is behind every single captain in the background, which I'm like, he was pulling the strings this entire time. It's his directive to just keep flying.
It's weird because like I don't picture, like, you're right, he's definitely the villain of this movie, but I never like picture this movie as like a movie with a villain. But it's like, yeah, I guess Otto. But I mean, I'm so focused on like Eve and Wally that I'm like, I don't know, he's not really
he's not a big bad.
Well,
and also like and it's maybe because I've seen it too many times where I'm like, oh yeah, like I know, I just know Otto's gonna be bad. And it's kind of like I mean, I am not well versed in this. Maybe you nerds are a little more, but like 2001 Space Odyssey, like that's obviously what they're going for. I mean, I don't need to know the movie very well to know that, the wheel guy, Otto, is like Hal, the red light or whatever. And so I feel like even with just like that knowledge and this being a sci-fi movie, it's like, like this guy's obviously like coded as a bad guy.
There is a great line that's kind of, I think, the thesis of this movie in a way, at least one of them, which is the captain says this, I don't want to survive, I want to live, which is like, oh yeah, like everyone on this ship is just surviving. The whole Otto his directive is like, let's just keep us alive. But what is that? Like, look at the world around them. They're all just kind of living, but they're not really living, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's cool that the captain's like, hey, there's a whole actual literal planet world out there that we can be exploring and do stuff. So Otto sends in one of his robot minions to dispose of the plant down the chute. But out comes Wally with the plant to save the day. But this is really sad. Otto like tasers the fuck out of Wally. Yeah, like he just like police brutality tasers Wally. It's bad. And Eva gets trapped and thrown out.
Yeah, she get dumped down the garbage.
The garbage. And then they get the airlock's supposed to go and like get rid of them. Actually,
her little like handcuff thing gets turned back on, and she like powers down.
Yes. And we see like in that place where we see these bigger, much less cuter Wallies who are crushing cubes.
Wallies.
Yeah, there's
evil murder Wallies.
Yeah, there's no like cute expressive eyes. They're just like big chongus Wallies, you know. And Eva blasts the cube, and Mo comes back and is here to clean Wally. And as the airlocks open, Mo rushes in, not to save the day per se, but he does indirectly do, because like as the doors are closing on the inside, he's just big enough to wedge himself in and leave the door open enough for Eve and Wally to like come back into the ship. And Mo's cleaning a dying Wally. Wally's in rough shape right now.
Yeah.
Eve's trying to find a replacement part for Wally. And Eve has a moment. It's a great moment where she doesn't care about the plant anymore. She like Wally's like, you gotta bring the plant. This is the mission now. And she's like,
directive.
You're my directive. Basically saying like you're my directive, Wally. And Wally's like, which is a very powerful moment, because this is entirely what Wally's been wanting to hear this entire movie up to this point. And even good guy Wally is like, no, gotta finish what we started. I'm obviously just making up words, but this is what he meant. Like, this is what Wally's feeling right now. He's like, no, that's really nice of you to say, but we got to finish the job. And so now they rush towards the captain, rally the other, I'm going to call them the rogue robots who got out. Yes?
Now, I took Wally being like the plant, because he also does the eye thing. He's like, bzz, bzz, bzz. So I took all of that as Wally being like, basically like, no, like if you put the plant in the ship, we'll go back to Earth and I can get the parts that I need. Like they're not going to be here. So I never took it as Wally being like, you need to finish your directive. I took it as like,
I think there's
no. You need to like, if you're trying to save me, you have to do this to get me back home, because he does the eye thing. And she's like, oh shit, I get it now. And then she takes the plant and runs off.
I think both can be true, honestly, because like, because Eve, like when she hears that plan, that's kind of what she's thinking for sure. She's like, oh yeah, Earth's a good idea because of those reasons. Yeah. But I like to think that Wally is not looking out for himself. You know, he's much more caring for everybody else. Yeah. That he's just like, yeah, that's a cool perk if I get fixed, but honestly, I care about everyone. So
he's a good boy.
He is a good boy. So yeah,
but does Wally even know that like going back to Earth is good for everyone? Like, does he even really understand the directive of getting the plant back per se?
He was in the room when those recordings were playing, I'm pretty sure, and like where the captain was
he
talking.
Understands that the plant going back is good for everybody.
I'd like to think so.
Okay
It makes sense.
It's not just like he has to get his job done, and it's just like more capitalism.
No, I don't. God, you're ruining Wally.
No, because Brad's reading is romantic, and we scrapped.
Wait, Brad's reading's romantic of that? Like, oh yeah, because
Brad's reading is like they're doing it for love, and she's like, we need to get you home and get your eye thing back.
It's not about the directive; it's about getting Wally.
It's about them
Wally.
And them living and loving each other. Screw the directive.
That's why I think it could be both.
That's romance.
That's why I think it could be both. We can have love and we can save everyone from this killer robot steering ship.
Yeah,
And so these rogue robots that were in the world earlier join, like they're rallied with Wally, and they rush towards the captain because they got to get this plant over there. And the captain suddenly who has been, again, lazy up until earlier today. I don't know how long. I'm not sure how long he's been learning.
A few hours ago.
Yeah, he has learned how to hack the system for a brief message to send out to Wally and Eve. And he's just basically like, hey, if you guys are listening, I only have a few like seconds to say this message. And this is for Wally. And please put the plant over here. And then Otto takes over. But Captain, he does another sly thing, which is he tricks Otto to buy some time in a way to give Wally and Eve a way to like put the plant on like the pedestal essentially. And he tricks him in a very like clever way. It's that classic like thing where where like you're in the foreground of a picture and it looks like you're lifting the Tower of Pisa in the background because of like how you. Anyways, he does that. And Otto's.
I didn't realize holograms were a classic thing yet.
No. It's
that makes more
classic
sense.
Picture thing that's like, oh, I'm lifting this thing, kind of. And Otto's like, I gotta handle this. And then they end up fighting each other. And the captain starts like shutting things down to prepare everyone to go back to Earth. And now everyone's chairs start moving towards the center of the ship. The pools start disappearing. Oxygen masks like now cover their faces and our heads, and Eve rushes in to put the plant on the pedestal. And this is when like Otto and him are fighting. So like the ship is being turned a little bit and all of the people are kind of sliding down because they can't get up. And they're like kind of sliding helplessly to the bottom of the, or just like onto a wall, and they can't do anything.
Strong Titanic vibes.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And like we have like a little bit of a superhero vibe here where Eva like saves a bunch of people from like scrap wreckage that's about to kill people, and she blasts it.
Hero.
But who else is a hero is Wally, who freaking like Superman Captain America lifts something, and he like tries to get the pedestal off the ground because it's like it was going back down, I guess. It was like present and then it was going back down. He has to lift it. So he uses all of his strength to like lift it up the ground. And
we also missed the two humans that like save all those babies.
Oh, the babies.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And she's like, I hope you're ready to have some kids. And like throws them across.
I did miss that. I didn't think it was important.
There were so many.
I think it's very important. Like the conclusion of their arc.
That's true. It's their very small arc. And Captain learns to walk, which is a big deal. He's walking for the first time to fight Otto and turn off his autopilot function. Basically a little switch that turns him from auto to manual. That's it. And
nice.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy win for him. After that happens, Mo finds the plant and everyone helps. Like they just like kind of pass the plant over and put it into the pedestal, and it's in, and it's like, oh, this is great. Everything's good. Oh no, Wally is even in worse shape than he was. He was already in bad shape. He's in worse shape now.
Wally's pretty fucked up right
now.
now.
But luckily, the movie's about to conclude, and they have to get to Earth very quickly. They hyper jump. It takes them 10 seconds. Nobody's strapped in. Nobody's strapped in for a hyper jump.
You don't need to be hyper.
Nobody on this ship who is living still has ever experienced space jumps.
They're 800 years in the future. They're fine.
Yeah. And we're back on Earth. Like we see the cockroach again. They land back on Earth, and
luckily they land in the exact same spot.
Yes.
That they needed to. Not anywhere else on the entire planet.
It's a big planet.
Right at Wally's front door.
There's probably a way to explain that. It's like, well, they could probably trace where that plant was growing.
Or no, they land where the ship took off, right? They land like right back in
right
the
where
exact
it was,
spot,
exact
and that's
spot.
where Wally's camp was. All right, there you go. It's explained.
There you go. And the humans walk out and they're like kind of seeing the Earth for the first time, but it's not about them. It never was. Eve is more concerned about saving Wally. The cockroach finds them right away, and they rush back to his home, his crib, his man cave, where they try to fix him. And this is a tearjerker. She fixes him, but he doesn't remember her. And it's a little bit of a thing. It definitely pulls on your heartstrings. You're like, oh no, you're just like he even trash compacts some of his prized possessions.
Yeah, that's the saddest
things that
thing.
he's collecting. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't recognize her, nothing. And he crushes his cockroach pal, doesn't even think about it. And she tries to play the music that, like, he's like a cassette player on his body, essentially, that he put on himself. And she tries to play it, but that's still broken. Nothing's good. Everything's looking pretty grim. And she holds his hand and sings to him. And like, as she's kind of like being like, the old Wally's gone. I'm glad you're living, but I'm sad that the old Wally's gone. And another little spark happens between them. And then you see the Wally little zzz, 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 which is like, oh my God, it's Wally. And he recognizes her and they're holding hands. And then he sees that they're holding hands and there's a very cute moment.
And he gets so excited.
Yeah, he's so stoked that they're holding hands still. And it's very, very cute. And then we zoom out and we see like plants are starting to grow on Earth. And that's the end of the movie. That's the end of the romance movie. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tom. That was a very beautiful, in-depth look at Wally.
Laura, can you hold my hand, please? So I'm gonna. They're very clammy.
Right
They're very clammy, right?
I was doing the shivering handhold.
So Wally is kind of an original. We've got writers on it. I mean, I have the main Pixar guys kind of written down here, but Andrew Stanton, I think, was like the main writer alongside. There was another one of those guys with him.
Pete Docter?
I was going to say Pete Docter. So the Wikipedia kind of says that, Andrew Stanton conceived of it during a lunch with fellow writers, all Pixar, John Lasseter, Pete Docter, Joe Ranft, and we've seen them in the other movie titles already. So that was in 1994 that they had this lunch and they were like talking stories that they could do at Pixar kind of thing. So Toy Story was like almost done at this point and they were trying to brainstorm like their new ideas. And in this infamous lunch, they like started talking about A Bug's Life and Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo. So all of these like kind of came out of this luncheon of like ideas for stories. And I guess Stanton's thing was like, what if mankind had to leave Earth and somebody forgot to turn off the last robot?
Yeah.
And so that's like the launch like statement for this movie.
I feel like I remember that mythology of this movie, like when it came out. That's like one of the main things I remember is everybody being like, this is like the last movie from that lunch where they thought of all these other amazing movies. And like, I remember that being like a big thing in the advertising, basically.
And, it feels like it's an event movie because from Pixar, we expect these unique stories. We're not getting like regurgitated tales at us. Like Ratatouille's crazy. Not that it was in this lunch, but like all these stories are like very standalone on their own, like different ideas from each other. And so I think it's really cool.
Incredibly creative, like the last handful of movies, right?
Yeah.
Which I would still say Pixar, like, we'll get there in this podcast, and like it's always a roller coaster. But I do think that's what everybody loves about Pixar is the storytelling and the
in 2023,
that was Cars. We end up obviously. It's hard and we end up getting sequels and some material, like whatever, we'll get there. But for the most part, they're like pretty fresh. And I think this movie really shows that as well, where they're just like really pushing their limits and taking risks on stories, which I would argue Disney is not ever as good about doing. They're much safer than Pixar is in general and as a whole and as a company. So I think this whole run that we've had so far just like kind of proves that. And it's really cool. But on that, like, what did you? I know we all are like event movie. Well, it's so cute. But did we all love this movie or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt. I don't know. I was very emotional watching it. I think like I just felt the love that was happening in this movie, and it's just so beautiful. Like Laura, you mentioned, there's a lot of themes going on right now in this one, like climate ones and romance and all these other things. And I think in such a short period of time, and like I said earlier, it's a show not tell type of movie where like there's very little dialogue, especially at the beginning 30 minutes of the film, but you learn so much from it. And Wally doesn't talk that much either, honestly. He says his name, he says Eva's name, he says directive. That's kind of it, right? And to be able to tell like a very unique love story in this post-apocalyptic setting that you wouldn't expect a love story to come from by two robots, and you caring about these two robots, I think it's a slam dunk, really.
And if we go back to the Pixar films that we've seen so far, like so many of them are these big, bright, beautiful, colorful worlds. And I think when we watched The Incredibles, it was a little bit of an outlier because the characters are very much that, but the world that they inhabit was like a little bit different from what we've seen before. And it was a bit of a stark contrast. And so here it's a world full of garbage, and it's this dirty, like constantly being broken robot and a cockroach. And yet it completely engages us and brings us into this world. And I think about like Wally's home, that storage container that he lives in. Like, I would go bananas live in that place. I like clean walls. I like everything put away. And yet this little hut that he's living in with all of his prized possession is like the most glorious space that they create. And then of course we go into outer space and we see the stars and we see the colors and we see like all of this futuristic stuff that's so maybe more traditionally beautiful. And it stands in such stark contrast to the world that we just left, but they make all of it work together. And the story itself is just so left field. Like how did they ever come up with this idea of like a tiny garbage compactor robot that was left on Earth and saves humanity? Like what the fuck were they on when they came up with this story? But it all works together so brilliantly. And so I love this movie, but I also have so much respect for this movie because holy shit, they pulled it off.
And it's charming and very funny too when it wants
charming,
to be.
So funny.
Yeah.
And you could watch this with speakers of so many different languages and children who don't speak any languages. And I feel like you're all gonna get so much out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's visually really, really well done, especially when you don't have any actual dialogue between characters. Like it's obviously extremely impressive for acting, like emoting through animation and through visuals. So, I mean, as you would expect, the visuals are just astounding in the movie, which we can get into a little bit more later. But yeah, I don't know, it's like a beautiful movie, both visually, story-wise. It's another one of those movies, I feel like I mentioned it in Monsters, Inc., where it's like, not that WALL-E is a more obvious idea, like Monsters, Inc. is just such a, like, in hindsight, such an obvious idea where it's like, how has nobody done that before? And with like WALL-E, it just works so well. It's just like, how has nobody thought of this before? And it's like, those are always the more impressive stories to me, where it's like in hindsight, such an obvious, beautiful story. And it's just like as if nobody's really like done this exact sort of thing before. So yeah, no, it's a great movie. Yeah.
Which I feel like comes back to the safety, which is why I'm like, yeah, maybe people have thought about like monsters under the bed, this and that, but they were like, didn't have the cojones to go and do it. Myself with this movie, I love it as well. I think the more I watch it now, the first 35 minutes are like top tier movie for me. I think after that, I still love them because they've built me to love Wally and he's very cute. But I do find myself getting like, okay, now it's kind of just like a sci-fi action adventure. Whereas the first part of the movie, just every time I watch it, it's just this mind-boggling like character piece that's so beautiful and everything's so intentional. And it's so impressive. It almost like, it doesn't kill the rest of the movie for me. But once they get to space, I'm like a little more checked out because the beginning is just like I love it so much. So this movie is ranked up really high for me, but basically from the 30 minutes, like that beginning, as soon as they go to space, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. We're going to like dick around in space now for the rest of the movie. But the beginning, I'm just like this, like I can't take my eyes off it. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it's a feature film that grew out of a short film. Like Wally feels like a character from a short film.
It's definitely a character study. It's like I said, like to get that kind of emotion out of a non-talking character is just, it's really impressive. And like obviously the visuals are insane as well. So it's just so cool.
Yeah. I think it's also just impressive how like clear of a character Wally is for not having dialogue. Like it's very easy to lean on a character telling you what they're thinking or feeling, but you can't really do that with Wally. And like Wally and Eve have like more or less the same amount of dialogue in a way in the movie, and yet they're like clearly different characters, as are most of the other robots. And I don't know, that's always really impressive to me, is just how clear of a character Wally is. Just like a few minutes in, you're like, I get this robot's personality, like they are a living, breathing thing. I understand what their wants are, what their needs are, like all of that. And I don't know, that kind of thing's always very impressive versus like being told like a narrator in the beginning being like, Wally was left on the earth, this is his job, but what will come of that, and like something like that. It's like, That kind of
Yeah.
storytelling's impressive.
You see Wally and you care about him immediately versus Cars wants me to care the whole time about Lightning McQueen, and I'm like, I
Yeah,
just
exactly.
don't.
Yeah.
And all I care about in Cars is that machine that makes mud or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cars is like a good example where they're like telling you more often what you should think and feel versus showing you.
Yes.
Whereas this
Yeah.
movie's like only show and not tell.
Yeah. I was trying to remember what movie had no fuckable characters, because there was one where we were like, nobody in this movie fucks.
That's never happened because I always find one.
Never. I know.
Yeah.
Cars was close, but I swear
Cars
we
was
had
close.
one.
No, we didn't.
Cars was very
No.
close, but I could have sworn
There's
there
been
was
a
one
few where we're
movie.
like, I guess if someone were to, I guess it'd be this fucking cow.
It was probably when there was
like Home
more-
on the
Range.
Range. Yeah, something.
yeah, I was thinking Home on the Range, or maybe one that was like more children, like maybe one where we were like hesitant to.
No,
I
there's
don't
always
know.
been fuckable characters.
Okay.
No, I remember having that conversation though. Sam,
But don't
I
you remember being
it,
like, this is the first movie where like nobody fucks?
Yeah, but then
I
we would have said, I probably would have said, this inanimate object though does fuck.
Yeah. Sure.
I just wanted to
guess.
quickly say before we move on to the next segment is that I feel like Wally, and even though he is obviously is a very merchandisable look and character to him, he's more effortlessly kind of a good toy to give to like kids and young people compared to like nowadays in 2023 where they're so more like in your face about like this character is the one we're gonna sell toys about. I think about Strange World and that fucking blob that like that they literally say a line, the Splat, they say a line about it in the movie and it feels gross. And I don't even think anyone's playing with any Splat toys these days. But if someone was walking around with a little Wally toy, I'd be like, yeah, that's a good one to have. I don't know.
I don't get the vibe at all that this movie is trying to sell me toys.
No.
That
But
does
I
not
have
cross my
seen,
mind.
I've seen like
Wally
Wally little
plushies?
plushies, and
Yeah.
I think that's like a cute. That's cute,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like you're right. It's not trying to. They're gonna do it because it's it's an animated movie. They're going to do it, but they're not trying to the way that like recent Disney movies feel like they're really trying to sell toys, and it's gross.
Yeah. Yeah, so much so that they have to tell us that they're doing it when we're like, we know, we know. God damn it.
I was just looking up images of Wally toys, and I realized I get E.T. the Extraterrestrial vibes from Wally.
Oh, I see
Oh,
that.
definitely. Yeah.
Like the wide
The shape of the head, yeah.
the shape of the head and like the squat torso. Yeah.
And like,
E.T.'s way
Like,
less cute.
oh,
E.T.
100%.
Wally's way cuter.
E.T.'s a freak, man.
Wally is like top 5 cute characters.
Oh
period.
wow, that's
Yeah,
I can see
I
it.
know.
I can see it.
Top 5 robots.
Did we do that? Anyways,
I feel like you did.
You
that.
must
I feel
have.
like
You
we've
must
done
have.
I
that.
think I've done that.
But like Wally also, I don't know, maybe this will be in I'll let particulars go on, but there's another robot out there that looks very familiar to Robbie. I said it.
Similar?
I said the name. You talk about that at all? Do you know Rob the robot?
I don't have that
from
one, so you
Nintendo.
can speak
From
about it now.
Nintendo. Like
Yeah.
there's a
Little
lot
bit.
of similarities there.
Yeah,
like
little
just
bit.
Wally's a cuter, condensed or more version of him. But I mean, with that all said, we'll pass it off to Bradley for the Pixar directives.
I love it.
I like it too, even though there's no alliteration
It makes
to
no
it.
sense.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Don't
I
think
like
about
it.
it.
I like it.
Yeah, it works though. We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Okay.
Right off the bat, do you guys know what Wally stands for?
Waste
Allocation. Load.
Load lifter.
Lifter.
Oh,
Load
Class
lifter.
E. What's the E for?
Earth class.
Earth class.
Yeah. So Wally, allocation, load lifter, Earth class. That's Wally. Or sorry, waste allocation. And Eve stands for extraterrestrial vegetation evaluator. Quite the mouthful there. Next, pop quiz for you hot shots. Do you know what all the Academy Awards it was nominated for?
Didn't
There were
win?
6 of them.
Hopefully, best original
One.
screenplay.
They
best.
won one.
animated feature.
They won Best Animated Feature.
Damn straight.
Screenplay?
It was nominated for screenplay. It was nominated for score, song, or best original song,
Sound?
sound editing, and sound mixing.
Nice.
Mixing.
Yeah.
What
Which-
was the song? The Peter Gabriel one?
Yes. yeah. Down to earth.
Is
Yeah,
that in the
while
credits?
watching it, I was just like, this like sound mixing is fucking insane. I'm like, it better have been nominated, and yeah,
Can't believe
it
it
didn't
didn't win. That's crazy. It didn't win.
I didn't look up what did win for sound mixing, but I did look up what the other animated features were that were nominated, and the two of the others were one that you have all reviewed, Bolt.
Oh
from
yeah,
Disney,
because it came out the
and
same year. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Kung Fu Panda.
That's a good movie.
Which that's I mean, Bolt. It was enjoyable, but like Kung Fu Panda is such a. I love that movie against Wally. Like I don't know. It's a tough one for me. I love both those movies.
I was just gonna say, oh, Wally over Kung Fu Panda for sure for me. But I love Kung Fu Panda. I was just gonna say with Bolt, like we've mentioned Bolt a few times now in comparison to like Pixar movies, and it's still crazy that this movie came out in the same year. And like Bolt looks just so much
Oh my God,
objectively
Bolt, like-
worse.
Yeah.
Like I like that movie, but it does not look like
I remember us being like, "Good job, Bolt.
Yeah.
Good job." And compared to
and
this,
when we watched Bolt, we were like, oh my God, there's like a bit of fur, and you see the ocean like far away twice. Meanwhile, we've already had Finding Nemo and Monsters Inc. What the fuck?
and like this movie is just like insanity with its animation. Obviously it just gets better, but like holy fuck, like it's night and day.
It is crazy to look back and see how far ahead Pixar was than every other studio and how long it took them to catch up. Yeah, pretty nuts.
well, and even like I'm sure you two can tell the difference, but if Wally was released today, I wouldn't think it looked aged or anything like that. To
I
me,
still think it looked
Watching
great.
it last night, yeah, I was like mind blown by how fucking good it looked. Like,
15 years
I
old.
forgot like how good it actually
Yeah.
looks, and I was blown away. I do think it would look even better. There's other movies coming up that like are even more mind blowing for visuals, but I thought it was spectacular. Like,
I bet
the reflections on
Yeah.
Eve and everything. I thought. It was
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, she was so shiny.
shiny.
Yeah.
so shiny.
Oh,
Shiny.
I loved that.
I was gonna say if they release it today, like in 2023, I bet you'd like it'd be like little things like the clothes that the humans are wearing. There'd be more like fibers that you can see
It'd
and
be
that kind of
texture.
like more hair and stuff like that. But it wouldn't really add anything extra to the movie. It like kind of be like work that doesn't need to be done. You know?
Yeah. It's more like macro stuff.
Yeah.
Just like getting into the details. But yeah, so the name of the ship, the Axiom, in logic and math, an axiom is something unquestionable or taken for granted. I thought that was a fun little tidbit
Oh.
or particular.
Wait, shouldn't Laura know what that is? Because weren't you a math lead?
Yeah,
Say it again. I was just writing a hot take.
the axiom.
It's a math thing. The axiom. You were a math lead. You shouldn't you know these things?
Yeah, I didn't know that was something that you guys didn't know.
What is it?
It's just a thing. I don't know. It's like the intersection of points.
Great.
It's like a math thing.
Yeah.
It's unquestionable, yeah.
I would love to hear like someone quizzing Laura about like it's like a mathlete competition. Okay, describe the axiom. Oh, it's a thing. It's just
Oh no, it's not what I thought it was. I thought it was something related to like geometry, but it's a logic thing. Like this is why I didn't stay in math.
Stick with it. So Andrew Stanton, the director and partial writer or credited writer, claimed that the film's central theme was that irrational love can defeat everything, including programming, which is pretty cute.
I don't know if we should hope for that to be true or to not be true when it comes to AI.
want it to be true, right?
Well, what if the robot has love? What if the AI has enough love that it kills us all despite its directive not to kill people?
Wally and Eve now kill everybody on that ship because they pose a threat to their love.
Oh God, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
So Wally's eyes were inspired by a pair of binoculars that were given to Andrew Stanton when he was watching an Oakland Athletics versus Boston Red Sox game. Apparently he missed the entire first half because he was so distracted looking at the binoculars, which is such like a nerdy artist thing to do.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So yeah, I liked that little tidbit. The sound, I got some sound or Foley, if you know what Foley effects are. I got some sound effects for you. The insect clicks were made from locking handcuffs together. The cockroach chirps were sped up raccoon sounds. The wind sounds were made by dragging a bag along a carpet. And the sound of Eve's laser blasts are partially created by tapping a slinky spring. So like holding out a slinky and then like tapping it, be like boing.
Oh, cool.
Man, Foley's a good time. It's always fun. So as you mentioned, Tung, this is the first instance of live action being in a Pixar film. I don't know if we have other instances. This one worded as the first time. And I was like, what other times have there been live action? One of the trucks that Eve searches is the Pizza Planet delivery truck from Toy Story.
Oh, okay.
We may have seen that. And you might also have noticed the A113 code is also the main directive of
Otto.
Yes.
Of Otto, yeah.
Narrative.
What else we got here? I got a few more. So, this is the one I was talking about with the humans. So apparently the movie originally was supposed to be aliens led by a royal family with a penchant for mistreating its robots. And that was like, I guess somehow connected to Eve going to Earth. I don't know how that connection was, but Andrew Stanton scrapped that idea. He's like, I don't like the alien idea.
I don't like it
so
either.
Then it was, I don't know. It's weird. So then they were like, okay, it's going to be evolved humans. And so one of the early concepts of the evolution of humans in space for 700 years was that they would become gelatinous, boneless, legless, see-through green creatures that resemble jello. And the design of the Axiom's passengers changed from gelatinous green blobs to more solid gray blobs, and to the final big baby concept is how they word it. So that was like the evolution from alien to fat people.
That makes it so much worse to me.
I was going to say, this makes it a lot worse.
I know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
Oh, no.
So I don't know if you guys caught this, but apparently at the very, very end of the whole movie, you get the Pixar logo and you get the classic lamp jumping in, jumps on the eye, and then the light goes out and Wall-E comes in and replaces it. But he replaces the old style lamp or a light bulb with a more energy-friendly spiral tube fluorescent one, is what he puts back in the lamp.
We saw a different thing.
No, we saw that.
Really?
We saw Wally replace the R.
No, he replaces the light and then
he replaces. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
And then he like knocks over the R and he's all like, and he goes and like becomes an R. Yeah.
I love him.
So speaking of Apple, I think Tung, you brought this up earlier. Eve was co-designed by Apple's senior vice president of industrial design, Jonathan Ive, the man responsible for designing the Apple devices, or the early ones.
That makes sense.
It's like
She looks
so
like
obvious.
an Apple product.
She does.
100%.
She's probably very expensive.
Do you think? Do you think Jonathan Ive spells his name lowercase I, capital V-E?
Yes.
Not according to this, but maybe.
I had to.
So the year it takes place, seems like you found a different date, but the one I got was off a DVD extra about Bernie, who was when Wall-E gets back into the ship, he leaves a robot outside.
Yeah, he gets his
And
own
there's a
short. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets his own short. And so in that, I guess it says that it takes place in 2805 AD. So that's my information anyway.
I believe it.
This is all.
I believe it. I did a very quick Google search. It was the first thing I looked at.
Yeah. So, I thought this one was actually pretty interesting to think about. Was that Wall-E as a character is potentially an example of the Ship of Theseus paradox, because it's hinted that every single piece of Wall-E isn't the original piece. He's been like he's like been swapping himself out and putting on new pieces. So in theory, this is no longer, there's like nothing original about like the original Wall-E anymore. Every part has been replaced, and that's like the Ship of Theseus paradox, where it's like you replace every board on the ship, and over time, is it still the original ship or is it a new ship? Like if there's absolutely
Didn't we
nothing
talk
original.
about this recently in a different?
We
Did we?
did? For Pixar
Okay.
Pals?
I guess maybe not, but I feel like I've talked about, maybe it was a book club thing. I feel like I've taken in some kind of media lately where I'm like, okay, but at what point are you just like a totally new
It's like kind of being a cyborg. Like if you're replacing every element of yourself, at what point are you
This
not
is
you?
what it is. It's when Sid replaces all of the toys with like random shit. Is it the same toy anymore? Is the duck toy? It's not even a duck anymore. It's just a duck with muscles.
Well, that was my last one. Thought I'd end on an existential crisis question.
Interesting.
As I do.
It must have, yeah, maybe I must be thinking of Toy Story. That's gonna be. Thank you, Brad. That was really nice. Did you also have animation angles, or was that all encompassing?
Was that introducing you animation? You introducing animation angle?
Do you have animation angles?
Always an animation angle. No matter what.
Find the angle.
Find the angle,
Yeah.
you two. That's your job.
Obviously, the movie looks amazing. I think the cinematography in particular, I don't feel like I've really seen this in other movies, but there's a lot of, I don't really know how to put this in a way, but it's like realistic use of camera. Like there's lens flares, there's over focusing. It's like they're obviously in an animated movie, nothing is done by mistake. Every single little blade of grass is put there with intention. And in this movie, more so than in other movies, I don't think Cars did it or anything, but it's like the example I have is when all the shopping carts crash into Wall-E, the camera like over focuses and it takes a while and it feels like a mistake. There's a lot of lens flares and there's just like all this texture, which I don't feel like a lot of, if at all, their movies have had up until now. And this is them like adding like real life texture and mistakes that would happen if you're actually filming in the real world into the movie. And I feel like it really adds to it, especially the space scenes. Like early on, I was like that opening sequence where you're flying through space, I was blown away. And I even turned to Sam when it was going through the streets in the beginning, the camera was going through, and I'm like, this looks like legit, just like models. Like it looks like real life. And I feel like a big part of that is just the dirtiness of the camera and the way the lens works. So yeah, I would say that's like the big takeaway for me from this one is just the use of lens and camera, which was apparently through my Prime Directive Diginos was like one of Andrew Stanton things. It was that he really wanted like to like use in a way real cameras and shoot it in a real way and add those mistakes to give it that more grungy, dirty kind of feeling. Yeah,
that's cool.
Worked.
That is really cool. Thank you, Brad.
They also, by the way, watched a lot of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton movies. Yeah, which are all silent era, and it makes sense. Yeah, and I feel like
Barnaby,
that makes sense.
Barnaby.
Also, way bigger fan of Buster Keaton than Charlie Chaplin. Maybe that's just me, though.
Oh, I have no opinion.
As you should be.
Okay.
I think Charlie Chaplin is maybe a bad man.
I'm just a fan of Barnaby. Laura's so pissed right now because I'm singing it wrong.
Barnaby. All right, Laura, calm down. Because it's time for 5-star, 1-star.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. As usual, I'm going to have to do a little condensing because people, man, so I was like, okay, I'm going to just like scroll and try and read the short ones. Man, everyone's writing friggin' novels on this thing. I'm just like, holy crap, people. So, like, what do they think this is? Letterboxd?
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's crazy. So, we'll start with 5-star. These are both long ones, but I am only going to read little parts. So,
do you have their usernames?
One,
yeah, did you get their names?
Yep.
Sick.
Nice. This first one
Call
is
them
from Jean the Meh emoji. Jean the Meh emoji.
Meh.
So they have a little blurb about when they watched it, blah, blah, blah. And then they get to, this movie is perfect. I don't care about the whole movies can't be perfect thing going around. This movie doesn't get enough praise, even though it does. It deserves lots and lots of praise. This is my favorite movie. The animation in this movie is very good. It looks like modern day animation, and it was made in 2008. I don't know what that means.
How old Matt the emoji is.
Yeah.
Like as if to that, like this person's clearly young because for them to be like, it looks like modern day animation. I'm like, dude, 2008 is not like, this is still pretty modern.
Remember the Stone Age of 2008?
Like, oh my God. Like what do you think? Oh, that line killed me. Anyways, then they go on to summarize and write a shit ton of other things. So yeah, definitely check it out. Next person for 5 stars. This is TLB BTX. They say, first favorite Pixar movie of all time is Cars. 2008 best films is Dark Knight, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Hancock, Kung Fu Panda, Horton Hears a Who, Bolt, Marley and Me, Mamma Mia, Step Brothers, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and of course, my second favorite Pixar movie is WALL-E.
Oh my god.
Honestly, 2008, banger year for films.
Yeah,
That was a good
yeah.
list.
They go on to explain WALL-E, a little about the synopsis, end with this movie you love watching is kind of like About Earth Day, and I love enjoying watching this movie because there's robots, and then there's a million robot emojis and earth emojis and plant emojis. 5 stars.
Nice.
Yeah. Now we get to the 1 stars. Got 3 here. They're a lot shorter. So, first one from Kitten Strike.
Oh.
Oh my.
Stupid WALL-E makes disturbing sounds. Sad face. Full solar panel energy, making Mac OS startup sound. I rate it 1 star. All of not the visuals on screen, but the sounds. This person was really against the sound in this movie, which I thought was funny. Next one by Rockman. WALL-E is a lame robot who no one likes. Rockman, get the fuck out of here.
You're done.
That's a bad take.
It's a bad take. It's not even yeah.
Bad take. Now here's an interesting
Oh boy.
coming at us from, this is my last one, from Gethin Bishop. Got a stiffy because of Eve in it. Dad thought I was well weird.
Oh, no.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
All right, Gethin, that is.
And that was a 1 star.
That was a 1 star because
Like
it
a
got
five
a stiffy?
star.
Oh.
I guess.
Well,
I guess.
and in theory, like most children watching movies with their parents probably don't want the movies to give them stiffies.
I mean, it adds with Dad thought I was all weird. So,
I shouldn't
like,
assume
probably,
he was a child.
Yeah.
probably not a great experience.
Maybe he's giving
you
his
know?
dad a 1 star.
Yeah. Dad shouldn't have judged him.
Yeah,
Dad wouldn't
yes,
get a stiffy
Dad.
from Eve. Like,
Google review my dad right now.
yeah. So, that is 5 star, 1 star, everybody.
Woo.
Which brings us to
Hot
Hot takes today, brought to you by Wally's Robot Man Cave.
Oh.
Yes.
What
Is it
about
hot in there?
Is it hot in there? I was gonna say that lighter that they light up, little flame of love.
I bet
Tiny
it
flame.
gets pretty hot in the man cave.
All right.
Heyo.
okay.
Yeah, I think so. But you're sure the lighter works too. Yeah, let's go with that. I'll start us off with my one and only hot take. I don't know that it's that hot, because who could argue this? But if Eve is in fact designed after Apple products, then I feel like the story of WALL-E is actually a tragedy, because she will inevitably have to be replaced in give or take 4 years.
Nice.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Tongue?
I have 3. I'm not sure how much of a hot take this is. Probably should have said this earlier, but I love the choice that the cockroach in this movie is not like a goofy animated cockroach that like has like big buggy eyes and all this other stuff. It
You
just
thinking of cricket?
yeah, a little bit, but it's just a cockroach.
Yeah.
It just looks like a cockroach, and yet it still has so much personality. And I think if they chose to make it very cartoony, then it would have been much worse. That's all.
That leads well into one of my hot takes, which was they did it. They made a cockroach cute.
Yeah, they did do it.
They
Nice.
did. Brad, do you have any?
No. It's too good of a movie. I couldn't think of anything.
Oh, you gotta force it, Brad.
I'll try to force something out. We'll see.
We're a
Alright.
stiffy in it.
Yeah.
Tongue.
Yeah, my hot take is that I didn't get a stiffy.
Damn it.
I'll save my best one for last, but here's a hot take that I'm not sure. Like when this movie releases, when this episode releases, another Pixar film would have released as well. Another love story, apparently, called Elemental. Yeah, so I think this episode might have already... I'm not sure. The timing's going to be close. But I don't know. It just feels like this love story that we saw in WALL-E is so imaginative, and like there's just so much going on, where I'm looking at the trail of Elemental and I really, really want to love Pixar again. Like, I don't hate them, but they're definitely like kind of in a stump right now for me. And I'm looking at their love story that they're trying to pitch, and I'm like, it's no WALL-E. even though I haven't seen the movie yet. But I'm just
Aren't their last two movies Turning Red and Soul?
I guess so.
I think so, yeah.
I guess Turning Red was really,
the
really good.
Merboy one.
Luca.
Luca was great.
It was fine.
I liked Luca.
It was fine.
Save it.
We'll see.
Save it. Save it. Everybody.
I'm gonna come in hot on that one.
Order.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess it's me just saying that, like, I guess I haven't seen it yet, but Elemental doesn't look good. It makes me bummed
I
out,
agree.
and it doesn't look like they already had a love story. And it's called Wall-E.
Yeah. 100%. Laura.
WALL-E is great because it says garbage, pollution, robots will fix it. Okay.
You know what?
Is that a hot take?
Bravo. As opposed to them fixing writing, which nobody asked for.
Exactly,
Talk about
Sam.
AI.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
She's talking about
Thank
AI,
you.
everybody.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
I see it.
I connected those dots.
Maybe I should have got
Thank you.
AI to write my hot takes.
No, Laura, I like yours better.
Thank you.
They have heart. Continue.
Hey, here's a hot question. What's our BNL?
What's that?
So BNL is like the corporation that took like
Is
the
it
BNL.
By and large?
Yeah, by and large, yeah.
Our,
What's our BNL?
Amazon.
I think it's Amazon.
I see.
Right?
I see. Yeah.
100%.
You're right.
It's just like
Dude's already
boxes
going
and
to
boxes.
space. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's true.
I'll read my last one in case you want
Sure,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, you have one more?
I have a few more.
I'll just read my last one. You can just
Okay.
rapid fire. Here we go. Very hot take. Very fresh that I'm thinking about this because we just saw the movie this weekend. Wall-E's collection of human shit better than Ariel's. Better than Ariel's. It's a better collection.
Ooh,
Yeah?
Interesting.
It is.
I don't know. I think it's close.
He has a more attachment. He does things. He plays with them more. I like it better than Ariel's, who just kind of. She doesn't know what she's doing. She uses a fork as a.
It's close. It's a good take. It's a good take, but I don't know.
Good one.
I like it.
close.
I like that
it.
one.
Yeah.
Here's a hot one. I think this might set off some alarms. WALL-E has the worst score of any Pixar movie so far.
Oh, hard disagree.
What?
What are you talking about?
Have you seen
That's
Cars?
absurd.
Have you seen Cars?
Yeah, Laura, what the fuck?
Okay.
What the fuck?
Listen.
Wow.
Listen. I forgot about Cars.
I mean, I know
but
Tongue said to force hot takes.
leaving
but that's a little
Cars,
too forced.
leaving Cars out of it. Is it better than Toy Story? Is
you-
it better than Monsters Inc? Is it? I don't think it's.
You're
I
just
don't
saying
think
that
it's
because
better than
Randy Newman's finally not involved in the movie.
No, this is so Thomas Newman did this. I think he did Finding Nemo as well, which I loved, but I don't think
I think
it's
that,
as
again,
cohesive.
Oh my god!
As
First
previous
35 minutes
scores.
though, all the like old school songs that they put in.
But
and
that's not the
music in
score,
there.
Sam. That's
No,
the
I know, but
soundtrack.
like we discussed at the beginning with the opening title card where it got all like spooky and weird. Like that's the score. I think
and I
that's,
didn't
those
like,
were
I didn't like that as much.
Oh, I think it's interesting, dramatic choices.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I'm glad you came in hot. I'm glad you
Yeah,
came in
I had to
hot.
come in
Yeah,
hot.
you really did. You really did.
Another hot question. Where did the babies come from?
I was wondering that.
Oh, because they're not fucking on the ship because they don't.
Nobody's
they're
fucking on
always-
the ship.
They're always kind of. You know what? That's true.
Are there robots helping them along?
That's all it takes.
Brad's doing a jerk off motion,
Yeah.
which I'm into. So
Something to think about.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Our next podcast should be about film sounds, and it should be called Foley Fools.
Okay.
Foley Fools. He says,
I'm intrigued.
you know what? That
intrigued.
could work.
All right.
That could work.
Fun. Fun.
We just explore movies and their sound.
And this is that could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
We got to do Foley when I was at Sheridan doing animation. One of our bits of our classes at one point was like doing some Foley effects for some short films, which was pretty fun. Foley's a good time. Just making noises.
I believe it.
Experimenting.
I believe it. Oh, yeah. The world of WALL-E is the hellscape I picture when I think about the impact of fast fashion. And one time Tongue and I, this is unrelated, this is a new hot take. One time Tongue and I went to Banff Hot Springs and we forgot our bathing suits and we had to rent bathing suits. And they asked us, do you want modern bathing suits or a traditional? And we're both like, traditional. And the bathing suits that they gave us are basically the exact same as the outfits everyone wore on the ship. So
That's true. They did
Like
very
one
similar.
piece, like
Yeah.
suits.
Oh yeah.
yeah, onesie. It's pretty cool. And last two are related to Hello Dolly. Wally is indirectly responsible for getting Bette Midler her Tony because Wally came out in 2008 and the Tony revival, the most recent Tony revival, Broadway revival of Hello Dolly came out in 2017, and Broadway takes a long time to get to a stage. So obviously it was influenced by Wally. And then she won a Tony for Best Actress in a musical. And finally, when Wally is turned into a stage musical, it won't be called Wally. It'll be called Hello, Wally.
Oh my God.
Did you get it?
Stop this segment.
Yeah. All
Dolly.
right.
Guys,
thank you,
when
Laura.
you give me no
Thank
segments,
you,
I'm gonna go hard on the hot takes.
Yeah, apparently.
This is what happens when we bench Laura. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for those insights and feelings. Yeah, that was Wally. We did it, everybody. That was
Don't you mean it was Hello Dolly? We have to call it by its real name now.
Hello Wally.
Hello, Wally.
Hello Wally.
Wow.
Hello Dolly.
Wow.
Hello Wally.
Okay, the opening song is called Put On Your Sunday Clothes, and it is just so lovely. And I was I forgot to mention this during Pixar Particulars. What was it called?
Particulars, profundities,
Yeah,
whatever.
profundities.
It was actually directives.
Directives. I forgot to
Pixar
mention
directives.
during directives is that apparently when they were the 1964 movie of Hello Dolly was being filmed, the guy who played Cornelius, who was singing that bit like out there, he wasn't hitting it hard enough, so the director came out and was like, just imagine you're looking at the stars. And so that's what he did, and that was the take they used. And then he 40 years later watched Wally and heard his own voice and saw it over stars and was like, what the, and then he told Andrew Stanton that story.
Oh, that's
I think that's
so
really
beautiful.
cool. Yeah.
I'm so glad that
is
came
really
back to you.
nice.
Isn't that kind of nice?
That's a
That
very
is
nice
nice.
story.
Out there.
And then he saw in the stars
Full of shine
a
and full of
constellation
sparkle.
of Hercules and said, that's Phil's boy.
Well, thank you
Delightful.
everybody for coming on this interstellar journey through the trashy Earth and the beautiful outer space with us today. Next episode, you'll find us also in the sky, moving on up.
Oh,
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez, Laura.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Come on,
Nailed
Laura.
it.
Yeah, we'll be strapping on some balloons and taking to the sky.
Yes.
In yet another, I'm going to say it, event movie. It fucking is. I'm
Are we
gonna
going to
Let's just save it. Let's wait. We'll
I know. We've been teasing it at the end of every episode, but
I know,
we could
it's true,
talk
yeah.
about it more.
We could fight about it later.
Yeah, are we gonna fight about it, Brad? Answer next
we'll
episode.
see how
what?
we'll see
No.
what the score is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura.
What?
Yeah, nothing at all. Da-da-da-da. Laura,
All right.
Yeah.
would you like to sing us out?
Out there, there's a world outside of Yonkers, Barnaby.
Barnaby.
How